Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're looking at lesson 12, what is surface area? So what we're looking at in this first part is covering the cabinet. And so this is going to give us a little insight into what we're looking at here. So we've got this cabinet and we're going to cover it with Post-it notes. And it wants to know, the initial part, which we aren't doing, is how many sticky notes would it take to cover the cabinet? So this is what it's talking about in terms of covering. We're taking all these sticky notes and covering the entire thing. Now, this covering the cabinet part 2 is what we're looking at. So earlier we learned about a cabinet being covered with sticky notes. So we saw the pictures from the start of that. So for number 1, how could you find the actual number of sticky notes it will take to cover the cabinet, cover the cabinet, excluding the bottom? So obviously it's sitting on the bottom. We're not going to cover that because that involves having to pick the whole thing up and put sticky notes. We don't want to do that. So we're just covering all the other sides of this. What information do we need to know in order to be able to find out how many sticky notes are going to go on there? Since we don't have this file cabinet right in front of us, we need to know measurement of cabinet. We need to know how big that cabinet is. How tall is it? How wide is it? How deep is it? All the dimensions of the cabinet. We also need to know what? How big, how many sticky notes cover, or how many sticky notes cover the length of the sticky notes. So, measurement, or we can think of it as the measurement of the cabinet in sticky notes. So rather than knowing that the cabinet's 5 feet tall, knowing that the cabinet is 20 sticky notes tall, that'd be most helpful to us since we want to find out how many sticky notes it's going to take to cover. So the measurement of the cabinet in sticky notes. So the cabinet is, and this is the information we have, which is not the exact information that it wants us to have. The cabinet is 24 by 12 by 6. So 24 by 12 by 6. And the sticky notes are 3 by 3. So we want to use this information to find the number of sticky notes to cover the cabinet. And we're more just going to explain how we would go about doing this. So we need to figure out how many sticky notes it takes to cover the edge of the cabinet. So for each of those dimensions. So we have, the sticky notes are 3 by 3. So if we take the 24 and divide it by 3, so 24 divided by 3, that's going to give us 8. So it takes 8 sticky notes to cover the 24 dimension. For the 12 divided by 3 is 4. Oops. I wrote the answer in the problem. 1 sec. 12 divided by 3 equals 4. So it's going to take 4 sticky notes to cover it that way. And then the last one, 6 divided by 3, is going to give us 2. So now we know it takes 8 sticky notes to cover the 24 dimension, which is probably the height, 12 sticky notes to cover the width of it, 4 sticky notes to cover the width of it, and then 2 sticky notes to cover the depth of this file cabinet. So what we would want to do to solve to find out how many sticky notes there'd be is we're going to multiply 8 times 4 times 2. 8 times 4 is 32, and 32 times 2 is 64. So it would take, oops, that'd be volume. Sorry. Looking at this wrong. So what we need to do is multiply each of the faces, I was thinking volume, each of the faces of this figure of our filing cabinet to find out the surface area. Because what we're looking at here is surface area. And surface area is how much does it take to cover all the sides. So you can think about wrapping a present. You're covering all the sides of that present. That's the surface area. So we know we have a side that is the 8 by 4. So 8 times 4 equals 32. So we've got one side So we have 6 sides total. So that's one of our sides. We're going to have another one, so that'd probably be the front. We're also going to have the back that's like that. So 8 times 4 is also 32. Then we're going to have a side. So if we think about the top, it's going to be the 12 by 6, or in this case, the 4 by 2. So we'll take 4 times 2, which is going to give us 8. We only have one of those. Then we're going to have the sides. So we've got 3 sides so far. We need 2 more because we don't do the bottom, remember? So we need the sides, which are going to be the big one, so the 8, and the width, the 2. So 8 times 2, which is 16. And once again, we have 2 of those because there's 2 sides. We're dealing with a 3-dimensional object. So now we're going to take and add all of these together. So we have 32 plus 32 plus 8 plus 16 plus 16, which is going to give us 104. So 104 sticky notes is how many it would take to cover this filing cabinet. So this is how we find surface area. You have to find the area of all the faces of the figure and then add them all together. So looking down here, we have the snap cubes here. So here's a sketch of a rectangular prism built from 12 cubes. So there's 12 cubes total in here. It has 6 faces, but we can only see 3 of them. So we've got 1, 2, 3. But remember, this side would also be back over here. This side would be over here. And then we've got the bottom. So we've got all 6 of those sides. So you can think about like a Kleenex box. You've got all those different faces of your Kleenex box. You've got the 2 on the end, you've got the tops, and you've got the front and the back. So you have 6 different faces. So it has a surface area of 32 square units. Obviously, you don't actually have the 12 snap cubes, but no matter what, if you have 12 snap cubes and we rearrange these in a different possible way, making a rectangular prism, no matter what, is always going to have 6 faces. So 6 faces. There's no other possible way to do it when we're dealing with a rectangular prism. Now, obviously, being as we don't have the snap cubes, we're not going to find the surface area of a different example of the figure, but we are going to go into a little more detail about the one that's drawn, just to take and help you guys understand where we find these different values from. So let me zoom in on this nice and big. Okay, so this here, when we're finding the surface area, we need to find the area of all 6 of the faces. Now, obviously, we're not shown all 6 of the faces, but we know that the faces across from each other, or opposite, or parallel, if you want, are going to be the same, because think about your Kleenex box. This end and this end are going to be the same, okay? The Kleenex box to make a little more sense. So this face here and this face here, they're the exact same size. They're across from each other. They're the exact same. The top up here and the bottom down here, they're also the same size. And then this side and this side are also the same. So the sides that are opposite each other, so notice my hands are on opposite sides, the sides opposite each other are always going to be the same. That's the key thing with a rectangle. So if we're looking, we can only see 3 of the sides, but we know the 3 sides we can't see are going to be the same as what we have. So if we find the area of this top square, we've got 2 by 2. So 1, 2, 1, 2. 2 times 2 is 4. So we know the top of this is 4. But if we know the top is 4, what do we know about the bottom? It's also 4. So there's our top and bottom measurements. Now, we have this green side here. Let me switch my colors so they match. So we've got 1, 2, 3 by 1, 2. So 3 times 2 equals 6. Now, the side opposite this, which would be back here, where we can't see it, is going to have those same dimensions. So we have another 3 times 2 equals 6. And now the last side that we can see is 1, 2, 3 by 1, 2. So it's also a 3 by 2, which is 6. And the side across from it is also going to be 6. So remember, there's going to be another one over here that's the same exact size and looks the same as the one right here. Same with the green over here, and then with the blue, it'd be down at the bottom. So all those opposites are the same. So now what we'd take and do to find the surface area here is we'd add all these together. Well, 4 plus 4 is 8. I'm going to make this a little easier by simplifying it. So these two together give us 8. These two, 6 plus 6 is 12. And another 6 plus 6 is also 12. So we have 12 plus 12, which equals 24, plus 8, which equals 32, just like it said it would. So when we're finding the surface area, like I said, you got to know you're covering it. So you have 6 different sides that you have to find the area of. So you're finding the area of all the sides of your figure. If you have a rectangular prism, there's 6 sides. If you have a cube, there's 6 sides. Most of our figures you're going to be dealing with are going to have 6 sides for right now. So you find the area of all 6 of those sides, and then you add them together because we're covering it. Do not multiply. Do not multiply. You'll get a very wrong answer and a very large answer. So your keyword for this lesson is cover, because what we're doing is we're covering our shape up. Think about it as covering with wrapping paper or painting it. Those are good ways to think about surface area. It's covering the whole entire shape. So once again, your keyword is cover. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Have a great day. Bye, guys.